The boys were called edgy. Told they'd never make it past 5 episodes. Here those podcast jerks are. Back for season 2. The Boys in the Woods podcast. The show your mother warned you about and that your dad was hiding in the basement listening to. Get ready for the Boys in the Woods podcast.
Rob is an 18-year member of the Association of Professional Ball Players of America. He played 7 years of professional baseball with the Oakland A's from 2004 to 2007, and New York Yankees in 2008, and Houston Astros in 2009, the Bridgeport Bluefish 2009, and Camden River Sharks in 2014. With a fastball that has been clocked at over 100 miles per hour. Rob has played as high as AA with major league affiliates and played with the Bluefish and River Sharks in the AAA equivalent Independent Atlantic League of Professional Baseball. In spring training 2009, with the Astros, Rob was called up to the major league roster for one big league game. Prior to his professional playing career, Rob batted .600 as a high school junior, earning him a full scholarship to Fordham University where he played shortstop and pitched. He has trained baseball and softball players from the T-ball to professional ranks for over 20 years. In 2007, Rob was hired by the Hospital for Special Surgery in Manhattan to advise and help structure their pitching biomechanics program. The hospital uses his pitching mechanics as the template for other players. Rob was also a guest speaker on the topic of pitching biomechanics at multiple Hospital for Special Surgery overhand throwing athlete symposiums. He has also conducted several seminars, workshops, and coaches clinics for students, parents, players, and coaches from T-ball to collegiate levels. Welcome to the Boys in the Woods podcast, Rob Semerano.
Let's dive in.
All right. Yeah, the other day we had a little bit of a mix-up. I was recording the audio from the phone call,
Okay.
and Charles said he jumped in the room to basically sit there and figure out what was going on, and it came back sounding like a bunch of chipmunks arguing in a trash can. So we got to fix this time.
Yeah, it was so wild. Oh man,
That's funny. You should have just put it out there like that.
Nobody would have been able to hear it. Would have been bad.
Yeah.
That's all right. We fix it. We'll clean it up.
hell, depending on how loud your speakers were when you started playing it, it may have blown something.
Yeah, so Charles doesn't. He's been picking up on the story here. He doesn't. He's got to catch back up to what we were talking about yesterday. So I asked you about your. We get into yesterday or Friday. We got into your arm, your knee, your tryouts, and a little bit about the little league team that you coach, your kids.
Sure.
I guess we can dive back into. We start from the beginning, like your journey in baseball back in college.
Yeah, so I got a full ride to Fordham University in the Bronx as a shortstop. I was valedictorian of my class in high school and got a partial athletic, partial academic scholarship. At the end of my freshman year at Fordham, we had, I think, 7 pitchers go down with arm injuries. So they were basically looking for arms to eat up innings. And anyway, throw the ball hard, and my dad obviously pitched professionally, so they asked me if I wanted to get on the bump, and I said, yeah, absolutely. And got out there, and I really wasn't a pitcher. I just got out there and threw hard. And then that summer, I got looked at by a scout from the Philadelphia Phillies who told me that he thinks my future, if I wanted to play professional baseball, would be on the mound. So that's when I really started to pursue it.
What was your greatest moment in college then? Did you guys how would the tournament go? Did you guys make a tournament appearance for baseball? Does it go divisions? I don't know how college baseball goes. How do the playoffs go for college baseball?
So the only year we made the A-10 conference playoffs or championship was the year I got drafted, 2004. It was my 4th year there, but technically it was my junior year because I redshirted my sophomore year because I never played, because I had Tommy John that year. But that was a great experience. I think we played in Norwich, Connecticut. And it was just an awesome experience being able to be in a setting like that where you're actually competing for something, where if you win the whole thing, you move on and get closer and closer to the College World Series. But that was the only year we went to the conference championships.
Wow, what an experience to obtain, though.
Yeah, it really was. It was pretty cool, and I got to pitch game 1 of that. And did well. I think probably one of my better outings in college was I threw a one-hitter against St. Joe's. And then I think it was like the following weekend, I pitched a real good game against St. Bonaventure at home. And then pitched against UMass. I strung together some good outings. And shortly thereafter, I got drafted.
Your recovery, you believe you're gonna go through, you're not doing PRP or anything to rehab. You're just going to do all natural then?
Yes. I'm probably going to get surgery to remedy what's going on with my knee right now. I heard a lot of good things about PRP and stem cell and all that, but I've also heard there's a chance it may not work. I really don't want to, for lack of a better way of saying it, waste time with trying something out and then finding out maybe that it doesn't work. And now I've just wasted 3 months that I could be
rehabbing already.
3 months.
Rehabbing.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Exactly.
that makes absolute sense, because we're not talking about the type of surgery you would get even 5 years ago. We could throw a ridiculous year on this, 10, 15 years ago. Surgeries today, for the most part, are as invasive as possible, quickly done, very skilled. And this is something that has built practice. It's always something that's crossed my mind also. Injuries derailed my military career, more or less. And it was always interesting to me, this new science that's coming out with the stem cell and whatnot, and how quickly it's advancing. But yet I feel if we're going to talk about it in stages, you're going to go to surgery, and that's at stage 8 or 9 in its life cycle, while the stem cells are rocking in stage 2 or 3. It might be progressing faster than yesterday's medicine, we'll call it. But it's interesting to hear your take from it as well. I'm assuming you dug into it a bit. Your body is your career.
Sure.
That was very interesting take.
Yeah, and I feel, as you alluded to there, that the surgeries today, a lot of these orthopedic surgeons that are sports medicine guys have done these types of surgeries time and time again, and it's almost become routine for them. It's not as though it's something that's experimental, and I think because they can look at it, and right now we're still in that phase of figuring out exactly what's going on. The initial diagnosis is that there's a torn meniscus, but that it's a part of the meniscus that can be repaired, and a partial tear to the ACL. The degree to which that tear is, we're still trying to figure that out. And then the fracture in the tibia, that's really just a result of the stress that the tibia was taking from the compression of the femur, without having a meniscus absorbing some of the force of the femur. Obviously, once that meniscus is healed, then that won't have that. The fracture will heal itself up and actually heal back stronger than ever, because it'll calcify. And the exciting thing for me, and I really always try to find the positive in everything, because that's what keeps you going. You can sit there and wallow in why is this happening and why me? And at the end of the day, at some point, you get around to, this is what's happening, and I got to accept it, and let's move on. And so instead of going through all those steps, I've just decided to go to the end step of accepting it, and also looking at what the positive is. And the positive is I've been throwing the ball pretty hard and throwing the ball pretty well, and been doing it in a fair amount of pain. And if I could get rid of that pain and have a structure that's stronger and healthy, I could probably do what I've been doing even better.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we talked about this. Yeah.
And you bring up, I don't mean to cut you off there, Pat. Sorry about that. But you bring up a really good point in the healing process there, and you touched on it quite a few times, is mentally. If you want to heal properly and at the fastest your body will allow, your whole body has to be on board with the process you're about to undertake. And being mentally
100%.
prepared for that allows the greatest chance for your body to. The human body is amazing for the most part. Outside of the starfish, there isn't really a better one out there. Man, if I could grow back some arms, I'd be chopping off these knees real quick. I promise you. But that's fantastic. I wish you the best in this healing process. Your story really is a fascinating one. Man, so one of my claim to fame, I'm not that guy who gets drunk and talk about high school football, but I will tell you about that one Little League game that I pitched a really good game at. And let's see, one of the baseballs behind me, I've kept the baseball this whole time. What's it take to throw 100 miles an hour? Is there some kind of thought process behind it? Or because as you've aged, I don't want to be the guy, but you're aging like a bottle of wine here, my friend, from everything I'm reading.
Well,
and your
thank you.
pitch is getting faster as you're going. You're honing this technique. So was there like some kind of magic, Michael Jordan magic juice from the Monstars you're drinking? or is it really just timing?
It's funny that you say that, because I really believe that one of the gifts that God's blessed me with is not falling in line with the status quo and falling in line with the, call it hypnosis, that people fall under sometimes, where it's at this point in your life you do this, and at this point in your life things start dropping and you're not going to be able to do this. And
that's why midlife crises happen when you achieve a house with a fence and 2 cars and the perfect job. What am I going to do next? Absolutely, I agree.
And science shows, there's all these studies that show by this age this or that, and it's like, of course science shows that. When you have everybody believing that, and then everybody starts living according to that, it's going to continue to show X, Y, and Z or so, because that's what everybody is doing.
Right.
But what if somebody were to say, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. And what if somebody were to say, if I keep doing this, and that's what I have decided to do, is, I decided when I had my Tommy John surgery in 2009, I didn't stop throwing. I didn't stop training. And, as frustrating as it may have been to want to be signed by a major league team and not have that happen, I still kept doing it, because I realized in 2018, when I said, okay, that's it, I'm done with trying to impress MLB teams and get signed, I just said, but I love doing this. And why? And I really feel our culture, it seems like it seems like any form of success or any form of doing something that's worthwhile has to be proven with being able to monetize it somehow. And I don't believe that's the case. I think if God's put something in you that you really, truly love, and you're not hurting anyone doing it, you're not depriving your family of being able to provide them a good life because you're taking away time to pursue this. If it's something you love to do and it really juices you, you should do it. And that's what I decided. Is I said, you know what, whether a major league team wants me or not, this is something I love doing. This is something I'm really good at. And I don't care when it is. When I step on a pitcher's mound, I feel good. I love it. And when I can throw a ball hard and hear a mitt pop, and it's exhilarating to me. And I really think that it's just the fact that I've been able to do it for so long, and coupling good training and good eating habits and just more and more education on how to take care of my body better. And then also just education on my specific body. I just think it's become more and more fine-tuned, and my mechanics have become more and more fine-tuned. My timing has gotten that much better. And I'm really not surprised. Why wouldn't I be better now than I was then? I've been doing it a lot longer than I was when I was in my 20s. And as long as you're healthy, and I know right now, obviously I'm dealing with a knee injury, but that's not from being old. That's from, I own a baseball academy, and I've been catching bullpens and throwing batting practice, and I coach both of my son's baseball teams, and I do a lot of home improvement and yard work, and my dad and I own a field maintenance company where we have a mound invention where we're lugging sod and bags of clay, and it's just everything combined. Just
being an everyday American.
So is that
exactly?
I had a question for you, Rob. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to cut you off. This is something that I read going in here. It says that the Savannah Bananas offered you a pitching job, an opportunity. Is that another reason why you didn't want to just dial into that area? This isn't a joke. If anybody's listening that is out there, thinks that we are a comedy sports podcast, but when we do interviews, this isn't a joke. Like, we're not trying to make light of the situation and the comeback, anything. I got a hold of you because of the story obviously entertains me to the point where I couldn't stop reading it. I read every single one of them.
But that one part got to me, and it just makes me, after hearing you say all that, it makes me understand the situation a whole lot more.
Yeah. This is my calling. This is what I love doing. And I can't control whether a major league team offers me a contract or not. So that's why I've put myself at peace with that fact. But I do have control of the fact of saying, I want to take care of my body. I want to be able to go out there and still make a mitt pop, go out there and do things that major leaguers are doing. If a major league team can recognize that and say, hey, you know what? He is doing that. I really don't care how old he is. And I realize that takes an open mind. I realize that takes thinking outside the box. And a lot of times that's not an easy thing for anybody, especially in a business like Major League Baseball, because there's a certain amount of justifying behind your decisions that you have to make. And I get that. And that's why I've never been one to complain and say, I can't believe that I'm getting a raw deal. And the way I look at it is, listen, this is a business. These organizations, they have the right to make the decisions based on whatever they want to make it on. And it's my job. If I want to get picked up by a major league organization, I got to figure out what it is to get them to look past my age.
Right.
And whether I'm able to do that or not is partially up to me, but it's also partially up to them making that decision. And the Savannah Bananas offer last summer, they were playing in Trenton, and then they were supposed to play in Staten Island.
Yeah.
And I really was not very educated on the Savannah Bananas. I had seen different little clips of some things that they did on YouTube. And I think in my mind, they were like the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh,
and
you don't want to become part of the sideshow when you're.
Yeah,
I understand.
So I said, I'm going to see if I can make something happen with a major league organization. But as I became more and more educated, I realized these guys are actually very good ball players.
Oh yeah, super talented. Dudes are up on stilts, like guys up on stilts swinging a baseball bat, thinking he's running to first base.
They've got a crazy rule where if it's if it's the bottom of the ninth at the home team, if they catch a foul ball, if a fan catches the foul ball on a 3-2 count, he's out.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Now, just to get into our obscure, weird side of the podcast, I want to paint a pitching scenario for you if you get into the major leagues. All right. We'll just say the Yankees got you. All right. You're playing the Dodgers in the World Series. Shohei Ohtani is up to bat. Guy's got runners on first and third. What are you throwing? And it's the bottom of the ninth. You're up 3-2. Go through your sequence with me in your head right now. If you're facing a batter like that.
I don't think it would be smart for me to tell you exactly what I would do in that situation, just in case I'm ever in that situation. Yeah. But I will give you a
synopsis, just a little overview.
Yeah, a little non-specific answer to that. But basically, one of the things that I think that I would really benefit from today is the fact that they have all these metrics and analysis. And there's a lot more data today to go by.
And I think where to throw and when to throw it. Absolutely.
I think hitters would have a hard time.
Yeah. And by being able to learn even more about myself, to know that, okay, Rob, this is what you're throwing, but this is also what your spin rate is. This is also what your vertical ride is. I didn't know till recently when I threw for a big league team a month ago. And again, this is on a knee that's
damaged
with a torn meniscus and damage, that he said you have a very unique vertical ride on your fastball. He said it really is, it's different. It's above major league average. And he said your spin rate is at major league average or above major league average. And I never knew that before. I always knew that my ball seemed to have some giddy up to it at the end and took off. And I would have guys tell me that, it looked like it spun fast, but until you're on a device that it can actually measure that, you don't know that. And I think what I would say to you is, if I was facing Shohei Ohtani or any player, it would be a matter of taking a bunch of things into account. What are his strengths? What are his weaknesses? And what is it that I bring to the table that's a strength? And then there's always that human element of, what am I feeling right now? And I think any pitcher will tell you that the pitch that you're going to throw with the most conviction is probably the best pitch for you to throw. The analytics may say otherwise, but if you don't have conviction in that pitch that the analytics are telling you should throw, you may not throw it with the intent that you should, and it sometimes a lot of times doesn't work out so well for you. And I think that's something that I always prided myself in as a pitcher when we didn't have the analytics, is that I would trust my gut. And the times that I didn't trust my gut are the times that I didn't pitch so well. The times that I tried to maybe overanalyze and tried to, he didn't do this against this guy or that guy, let me try to do this. Versus just going
when
with,
you should have been playing checkers.
Yeah.
Exactly. Over processing. And I think that with today's analytics, where you actually do have data to work with, that makes it a little different. But then again, it still comes down to that gut feeling. And maybe there's analytics involved, but what if I see something from Shohei that he's adjusting? And if a person is adjusting from what they normally do, then you could throw those analytics out the window because they're not doing. They're not doing what they normally do. Exactly. And that's where you as a pitcher have to then adjust. And that's the beauty of this game, I think.
Is there ever a point? What's that?
When a batter takes the first pitch, how does that make you feel as a pitcher?
If it's a strike, it makes me feel pretty good.
Yeah. Because from the outside looking in, but the assumption of the batter taking the first pitch would be to better judge the release angle of your pitch.
Possibly, yeah. If it is a strike, obviously if it's a ball and they're taking it, it could just be that they recognize it's out of the strike zone. But if it's a strike and they're taking it, it could be that. It could be that they had planned on taking the pitch and they just want to analyze it. But it could also be that you did something that
you made that great pitch.
Yeah,
or a
as
surprising
David Cohn
pitch too,
said once. Exactly, as David Cohn said once, pitching is about throwing balls that look like strikes and strikes that look like balls. And if you can throw a strike that they think is not a strike, or maybe they're looking for a different pitch, and you throw a fastball that now they're looking breaking ball, you throw a fastball. Now that fastball looks 5 miles an hour faster than it actually is because they were looking for a slower pitch. That's a beautiful thing when you can do that to a hitter.
When that meatball goes right down the middle and they look at you like, why?
I watched an interview on MLB.com of a pitcher saying this. He goes, they asked him a pretty goofy childhood question. He said, have you ever thrown a pitch and the second it was released, you drop your head because you knew that ball was gone? And they go, yeah. And the hitter knew it too. He goes, when you're that good and you laid one right in his sweet spot, because they know their zones, where they're going to take the ball.
Yep.
Guys are just that good nowadays.
So there's
especially at that level.
Yeah.
There's certain things where you're playing in a men's league, or you're playing in even high school or something like that, where you maybe don't throw a pitch where you want it and the guy fouls it off, or maybe even misses it. But at that level, I never forget the scout that signed me, Jeff Bittiger. When he signed me, I don't know how we got on the topic, but we were talking about, he was just basically giving me some words of wisdom, some advice, because he had pitched in the big leagues. And he said to me, you know what, Rob, one time I was on the mound and I thought to myself, just don't give up a home run to this guy. And he goes, what happens on the next pitch? He goes, I throw a pitch, the guy hits a home run off me. And he said, don't ever take that mentality out there. He goes, I learned from that. I learned that it's almost as if you manifest the situation. And again, it goes back to what we were just talking about a couple minutes ago. If you're throwing a pitch worried about giving up a home run, you're not going to throw that pitch with the conviction that you want, unless you're using the fear of giving up a home run to then kick you back to, okay, now I'm going to execute an amazing pitch right now. That's when it's effective. But if you're just stuck on, I hope I don't give up a home run, a lot of times that's when, you do lay one in there. And I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that I had moments like that in my career, that I had negative thoughts that affected the pitch negatively and then turn out to be negative results. And I think that's something now that being away from the game and really being able to step back and look at the things that made me successful and look at the things that kind of derailed my career. You become wiser and you think to yourself, man, if I could have another shot at this. And I think, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think I'm the only one out there that feels this way. I think there's a lot of guys home right now that are in their 30s and 40s and feel the same way. And they realize,
Oh, I'm sure
that they realize, man, I get it now. I get it. And I think the only thing that I'm maybe doing a little differently is I've kept at it. And I've kept training, kept throwing. But I think if I could do this, I think you may see other guys pursuing the same thing, and you may start to see that, wow, there's actually some value in these guys that are a little bit older. It's not just about what their bodies, according to the masses, are supposed to be at that point in their lives, but it's also about the fact that they really know themselves. They really have, become wiser in knowing what helped them psychologically, what helped physically. I was always a hard worker. I put a lot of work in the gym. And one of the things I learned about myself is I put too much work in at times. And that led to a lot of injuries because I overworked. I just, didn't allow my body to. Absolutely. And that's a real thing. And when you're younger and you don't really realize what it's going to do to you, you see it as a badge of honor. I'm the hardest working guy here. And I'm throwing up at the end of my workout. Throwing up at the end of your workout means you've stressed your nervous system to a point that it's broken. And that's not a good thing. So
a lot of people in that scenario end up something known as Osgood-Schlatter's disease. That's a fun one to deal with.
Fun numbers there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where you get that bump on your knee. I had that as a middle schooler. And, it's not fun. It's pretty painful, especially if you're kneeling.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I can imagine. Put pressure on that. It's not going to feel great.
Yeah, it's rough.
You also coach both of your sons' little league. What's been the most rewarding little league moment outside of the elephant in the room, being able to coach your sons?
Honestly, one of the biggest things for me is especially with little league baseball, recreational baseball versus say travel baseball or club baseball, where players there are pretty serious about it. They've obviously attained a certain level of talent that they've been able to make a team. Where with recreational baseball or little league baseball, it's open for everybody to play. And I think one of the most rewarding things is when you see a sense of relief and excitement and a feeling of fitting in of a player that you've helped get to that point, because it's
the accomplishment look on a child's face is second to none.
Kid, the kid that maybe started the season and just
saying I can't, and realizing I
exactly
could.
And didn't have a shot to catch up to a pitch, didn't have any type of approach to be able to go up there and hit a ball, and by the end of the season they're putting the bat on the ball or they're getting a ball hit to them and they know how to field it, they know how to throw it to the target, and that look in their eyes where their face lights up and they're glowing with confidence. And to me, I think that's such a powerful thing, because I feel chances are that player is probably not going to play baseball for a living someday.
No.
But there's a chance that same glow, that same of, wow, I did something that I didn't even think I could do.
You could take that somewhere else. Yeah.
Exactly. That's going to stick with them the rest of their life, no matter what path they go down.
Just like that little league no-hitter that Charles is carrying on the back of his shelf here.
Absolutely.
Still proud of that as an adult, a 30-some-year-old man. You're still proud of that. That is an accomplishment, like he said.
It absolutely is. The one thing about sports that I think is empowering is it's so public. It's done in front of everybody. And it's one thing if you have a bad day at the office and maybe your boss sees that you blew the deal, or somebody in your team at the office. but it's not reported in the papers. It's not put on the internet. You don't have fans cheering and you also a lot of times don't have direct opponents trying to mess you up. Where sports you do. When I'm pitching out there, I'm trying to throw pitches that end up in the catcher's mitt
Right.
and get called strikes. The hitter is trying to get his bat in the way of those pitches so that they don't hit the catcher's mitt. And he's trying to mess me up. And that's a zero-sum game at the end. And as much work as we're all putting in, somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose.
Right.
And when you are triumphant in that, it's very empowering. And that ball that Charlie has behind him is more than just a little league ball. That why is he still hanging on to? No,
it's a reminder of success.
Absolutely, of success, of public success, of overcoming, jumping into the lion's mouth. That he did something that, especially going into the latter innings of that, where now everybody knows there's a no hitter. So there's a certain amount of expectation and pressure, and to be able to overcome that and succeed, that's an empowering thing. That's a beautiful thing. And you should take that with you the rest of your life and acknowledge that.
Well, Charles and I always get into this because we talk about all sports, like everything. But we had this debate for a long time, and I think Charles and I are both on the same page. We both believe that Major League Baseball is the most difficult sport to break into. To get
absolutely.
To the major leagues has to be the most difficult, because it just seems like
the process
players
is
so long.
It seems.
Yeah.
There's a lot of levels before you get there.
Yeah. It's not just, hey, you're good, come to the major leagues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of steps before that. And again, there's a lot of failure that you have to go through that teams actually want to see you go through. I'll never forget, in 2005, I was 10 for 10 with my first 10 save opportunities in A-ball. And I'm cruising along and I'm thinking, I'm going to get bumped up to high A pretty soon, like throwing like this. And I never forget, my dad and mom came to town to watch me play. And they came down to the fence and just said hello to me. And it was either my manager or my pitching coach that was there. And my dad had said to one of them, "Thank you for the job that you're doing with my son." And they said, "Actually, no, thank you. Thank you for the job that you did with your son." And they started chatting back and forth. And they said to my dad, they said, "Mr. Semerano, we're looking for him to fail right now." And he was like taken back by that. And what they meant by it was, we want to see, that's great. We see he's got good stuff.
Success. We want to see adversity. We want to see
exactly.
How does
we want to see, how does he respond when he goes and he blows a save? Does he come in the next day and he's hungover because he was trying to drown away his sorrows, or is he shying away from wanting to get out there the next night? Is he coming in?
Sure.
Ripping the locker room apart? How's he handling that? Or is he coming in the next day where you couldn't tell whether he just converted a save or blew a save? That's what they wanted to see from me. And I think that's what they look for with a lot of players. And that's why you go through that minor league process of, let's see how he is when he fails. Because if he can't handle it here in Kane County, Illinois, he's not going to be able to handle it in the big city lights of New York and Chicago and Boston.
I think there was a football coach, I think it might have been Jimbo Fisher for Florida State back in the day, said, I'll take 10 comeback player of the year candidates before I'll take one guy who believes that he's entitled to everything. And
I like that.
It was all about earn it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's lost a little bit today. And I think part of that can be proven by with the number of players in the transfer portal in college. There's very much a culture today, and you see it travel ball of, I didn't like the way that went, so I'm done. I quit. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And there are some times in life where you have to say, okay, this is really a toxic environment. This is not where I should be. I get that. And that's a real thing. But when you see it happening to the volume that it's happening today, I think it's becoming a cultural thing that, listen, if things don't feel perfect, just quit and move on. Go someplace else. And to me, I think that the people that have a little bit of that stick-to-itiveness and perseverance, I think they got a leg up on those other people, because those other players and people that are willing to quit that easily, they're never going to find that perfect situation that they think they're going to find. That the grass is always greener on the other side. And
they find out way too often. It's
Yeah.
wild that it doesn't affect them as much as it should. The grass is not greener on the other side more often than not.
You're absolutely right, and I think that that's something that parents should really instill in players. I've said before that there's times where things happen, and I know I coach some of my boys' teams, but sometimes I'm not the head coach, and there's actually been times where I'm not even a coach because I just don't have the time to do both. And there's certain things that I've seen where I see a small level injustice to one of my sons, that he's batting here where I think he should be batting higher, or he's being benched a couple innings or whatever. And I actually like when that happens, because I think that it's good for people to learn how to get screwed and be able to still bounce back.
Sure, it's like a character building moment.
Absolutely. It certainly, and I think the best thing for me as a parent in those moments is to not even act phased. And guess what? My boys, they never act phased by it. I say to them all the time, I go, does it matter where you bat in the lineup? And their answer is always no, because I've kind of brainwashed them to say that.
Right.
And I say, does it matter where you play in the field? And they say no. And I've never seen them ever get rattled even the littlest bit about where they batted in the lineup, or where they are in the field. And I'm proud of that, because I see so many kids, and I've had, owning a baseball academy, I've had parents that come to me that he was heartbroken. He was devastated. And I think to myself, I've had some pretty rough things happen to me in my baseball career. I obviously got signed by 3 major league organizations, but I also got released by 3 major league organizations. I've had 2 Tommy John surgeries. And I really don't ever remember feeling devastated or heartbroken.
No.
Maybe disappointed, maybe angry, maybe a little pissed off, maybe a little more determined. But I think when a player gets to that point, part of that is the enabling of the parent that allows that player to get to that point. And that's where parents got to step in and say, hey, we got to be a little tougher here. We got to realize this is also a game. It's really not that important. There's nothing intrinsically valuable about being a baseball player. You don't need to do this. This is something you love to do. This is something you want to do. And just because it didn't work out exactly how you wanted, that's no reason to be devastated.
Oh, absolutely.
I couldn't agree more. Rob, I want to thank you so much for your time. I've truly enjoyed your story, and your outlook on things is fantastic.
Yeah, we absolutely loved having you on here.
Thank you.
Gee, are you looking for people for your baseball academy? Charles, we'd love to have you push that out there and promote that for you too. So anything you can get us on, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, so my baseball academy is Big League Talent. We're in the Jersey Shore area of New Jersey. The name of our travel teams are the Aces, Big League Talent Aces. We have teams from the 11U level up to the 18U level. And our focus with all of our teams is player development. And we are not an organization that tries to push how many championships we have. We don't try to bring in a ringer for a tournament so that we can boast on a championship that we won or a tournament that we won. We try to win. We want to win. We play winning baseball. But we are committed and loyal to the 11 or 12 players that we say are actually on that team. And we would rather take the 11 or 12 players that we have on a team and keep those 11 or 12 all the way through, versus saying, you know what, we got this other kid out here that's better. We're going to push this other kid out, because it's really not about that for us. It's about, I'd rather see 12 kids who maybe started at level 40, let's say, just to use numbers, and they all ended up at level 50 at the end of the year. And I don't care what the record of the team is, but they all improved. They all got better. They're all moving closer to becoming the best version of a baseball player that they could be.
Absolutely.
And we know who all our players are. They're not just numbers to us. We know who they are. We know what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. We know the type of mentality they are, so we know how to coach them. Some players you can nudge a little bit harder. Some players you got to stroke a little bit more, and that's okay. Everybody's different. Everybody's personality is different, and it's our job to figure that out and try to bring the most out of each player.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Yeah, you got to build that team mentality, like team the team. We hear it a lot. It's like a brotherhood.
But, it is. But the thing with baseball is one of the things that's different than a lot of team sports is it's really a compilation of everybody's individual efforts. You can't set a pick for somebody in baseball. You can't pass the ball off to the guy with the hot hand. When it's your turn to bat in the lineup, you got to bat. You can't say, hey, I'm having an off day. Let's let this guy bat 7 times and I'll only bat once today. Everybody's going to get their at bats. And when it's your turn to perform, when the ball's hit to you, you got to make the play or not. And I think part of that is to allow players to each be able to individually do that. You got to know what motivates each player individually.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Again, it sounds like you're on a really good path, Rob, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And man, and we hope for the best. Along this journey, we've met a handful of individuals who, without it, we wouldn't even know really they exist. And not to say that in a negative sense, that's more a negative.
Oh, we've
sense
learned more
for
about
us.
sports, talking to the people about sports.
So being able to hear your story and outside of just reading it, it's been an absolute pleasure of ours. And we thank you to the moon and back and wish you all the success in the world, my friend.
Thank you very much. And anytime you guys want me back on again, let me know because I've enjoyed it as well.
Absolutely. We got to keep up on the Little League season. Charles and I would like to do something. If we can do something for you, let us know. Like I said, I'll try to get you in touch with Ripken there. We're going to try to hook you up with Ripken, see if you can get you on there on the show.
That'd be great. Well,
Ryan's a fantastic guy. He's a fantastic guy.
He was a good dude.
I'm sure. Comes from a great baseball family. So, I was going to say I'll probably be coaching on crutches for most of the spring.
Oh, boy.
Once I get off them, I'll be
but he's gonna
better than ever.
You're going to be the base coach. A kid's going to hit a liner, and you're going to catch it with your left hand. I'm going to call it right now.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll be coaching third base this year with crutches.
Probably not the hot corner. That's what I was stuck in softball, and I was terrible. Well, that's another story for another time.
Third base in softball.
That was terrible. That was terrible.
Gets on you in a hurry.
I think
so much again, Rob.
I really appreciate it.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.